and then they will later on be posted to our website. The notes and links will also be up there, and they will be sent out to you folks via email as well. If you know of anybody who is not on these calls, ask them please to directly email me. My email address, you can just email on the heartofellsworth.org website. We're only as strong as the amount of people that we're reaching, and if there's anybody left off of the list, it's not intentional, it's just we only have so much bandwidth to include people, and we need people to be engaging with us at this time so that we can get the information out to everybody. So today we are going to be hearing from Chris Fitzpatrick, Machias Savings Bank, Shannon Byers from SBDC and CEI, Louie Luchini, our state senator, is going to be is going to be presenting, as well as Dale Hamilton, our chair of City Council, and then Nicole Grohoski. I think we decided today that we were going to cap, I'm not sure how many people we have on the call, but maybe Eric, our moderator, can kind of let me know. We were going to kind of cap it around 40 people, whether or not we were going to actually do introductions.
We have 33 right now.
All right. Maybe we could do, I think it's kind of valuable at this point in time for Eric to be calling on everybody and just for you to give a quick update, like a quick name and title of your business, and then maybe just a 1 or 2 word challenge. And I specifically, please, everybody, keep it really short. This information is really, really important, though, for our presenters to hear directly from you folks. So, Eric, I'll allow you to take it away and just ask everybody again, please keep it super short. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cara. Just as a reminder, there's probably about 8 people it looks like don't have their mic muted. So if you go down to the bottom left of your screen, then if you're not talking, just try to mute that. I'm going to go down the list that I have. Sometimes it jumps around, so if you get skipped, or if you just have phone numbers, so if you don't know the number you're calling from and you get skipped, then just feel free to jump in at the end here. All right, so let's start off. Let's see. All right, forgive the pronunciation, but I have Memensha. And I think you're
Hi, it's yeah, I just turned it on. It's Menemsha Basakura, and my husband and I own Serendip Restaurant. And I guess my main concern would be, how we look forward after this is all, we're reopening up, back to normal.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for being on this time. So next up,
thank you.
Phone number is 207-669, or sorry, 207-26, ends in 9742, put it that way.
Hey guys, that's Amanda Tepper with Machias Savings Bank. I'm super excited to be on the call again today. I know Chris is going to be talking. If you have any questions or anything, you can always, I'll put my email right in the chat for you. And I'm super excited to see new faces this time as well.
Okay, thank you. Next up, phone number ending 0366.
This is Dale Hamilton, Chair of the City Council and Executive Director of Community Health and Counseling Services.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Next up, we have Melissa.
Hi guys, it's Melissa Bradford, owner of the Alchemist Salon.
Thank you, Melissa. Ann Sargent.
Hi there, I'm Ann Sargent, Director of Ellsworth Adult Ed, and just my commitment is to promoting economic development in Ellsworth, so just wanted to hear how I might help.
Thank you. Betsy.
Therapeutic massage for wellness, a technical root cause focused muscle mechanic. That's how I describe myself. I am currently available to provide helpful guidance over Zoom or FaceTime for at-home self-care for muscle-related pain. Still looking to find out how I can be a little bit more of a contributor to the bigger cause.
Thank you for coming back this week. Next up, we have Brian.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brian Lightly from the Union River Lobster Pot. Biggest concern or challenge, I think, is looking and seeing, what kind of travelers we might have this summer, if there is a summer. I see Virginia has a stay-at-home order until June 10th. So just kind of wonder how long people will actually stay away and what it looks like for business on Main Street this summer.
All right, good questions. Next up, we have Chris. Oh, I think Chris is going to be speaking later anyway. So Chris, we're going to skip you for now. And we're up to...
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. David Cole, City Manager. I'm kind of toggling between this and another call at lunchtime with the DECD Commissioner. So Dale and Jana will be talking on behalf of the city, but I will be listening in with great interest.
Okay, thank you, David. Brian, did we get you, Brian Langley?
Yes, you did. Yep.
Okay, yep, sorry. We are on to George.
Susan Chappell, CPA in Ellsworth, and just really working hard right now to get tax returns out the door for people and to get profit and loss reports for people and all of the information on all of the tax relief programs that are coming out. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Heidi, it looks like you were up.
Hi, everybody. Heidi Stanton-Drew from the Artful Aid. And I think one of my questions today is about the documentation that's going to be needed for self-employed people who are applying for unemployment. I'd like to know that for myself and my clients so we can be prepping now. Thank you.
Okay, we'll try to get that answered. Thank you. I just have an initial, but looks like Jay Richards.
Hi, Jana Richards. I am the Economic Development Director for the City of Ellsworth. We've been working hard to compile a lot of resources for businesses, employees, employers, as well as community resources. Put it up onto the city's webpage. It's been there and been added to for about 3 weeks now. So there is a one-stop shop for a lot of the businesses to be able to go. Been working with Shannon, has been feeding us a lot of great information, so we appreciate that. And just trying to keep that up to date and going moving forward so that if people have questions, they're able to go to that webpage as well as reach out to myself and I can help direct you toward other resources such as Shannon and some of the other people in this chat. So thank you. And I just want to say it's nice to see everybody's face because I do miss all of you. So hi, everybody.
All right, thank you so much. And just as a reminder to everyone that was not on the call last week, if you turn on your chat function, you'll see on the right-hand side, and people are posting links there. And I believe Kirsten, when she takes notes, will be sending those out to everyone as well. All right, so next up we have Julie.
Hi there, I'm Julie Vidham, and I'm a board member of the Heart of Ellsworth and community member of Ellsworth for my entire life. And I'm also the auditor for Machias Savings Bank. So I'm just here as an interested person to see how I can help with collaboration and help our businesses get through this issue. And I am happy to see everyone.
All right, thanks, Julie. We have Kate is up next.
Ooh, there's often lots of Kates. Do you mean me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. My name is Kate Koff, and I'm a reporter for the Ellsworth American, and I'm here to hear about what all of your concerns.
Great, thank you. Kirsten?
Yes, I'm Kirsten Henry. Steve and I own Bay Meadow Cottages Lodging, and our biggest concern is retainment of our employees and what the future holds for the upcoming tourist season.
Okay, and thank you for taking notes today. Next up, we just have some initials, LMCP.
Okay, I'm Linda Perrin from Atlantic Art Glass in Ellsworth. I'm a small business owner at 25 Pine Street. My concern is just how to pivot my business and our nonprofit to the new climate and what's coming this season.
Okay,
Really
thanks for
part of
joining.
Ellsworth for connecting us all and putting us all on the same page because we're all in the same boat.
Absolutely, thank you. Louie, you're coming up.
Hi, I'm Machias. I'm a assistant brewer at Fogtown Brewing Company, and I'm just here on this call to hear the concerns of the local business community and our community leaders. Thanks again to the Heart of Ellsworth for putting this on.
All right, thank you. Nate.
Sorry. I'm Nate Hansen. I'm a board member of Heart of Ellsworth, and I also run, I'm basically a sole proprietor kayak construction company. My concerns are trying to see what we can do as an organization, as Heart of Ellsworth, to address the needs and kind of pivot to the new climate. And as a business owner, I'd echo what Brian said about the uncertainty has really knocked back all reservations for my business. So, and I guess I'll add one more, which is that looking forward to figuring out how the self-employed unemployment benefits will be implemented. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Nate. All right, so Nicole will be coming up, so we're gonna go over down to Paul.
Hi, Paul Marcosian. I am co-owner with my wife Lorena of 2 restaurants downtown, Flexit Cafe and Bakery and Finn's Irish Pub.
All right, thank you, Paul. Peter.
Hi, Peter Leone, board member, Heart of Ellsworth, and interested community member.
All right, thank you. Phyllis, you are up.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Young. I am the president of the board for Heart of Ellsworth, and I'm the interim director of Woodlawn. And Woodlawn, of course, is trying to figure out its season. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Phyllis. Your connection's a little bad, but we heard most of what you're saying there. Sean, you are up next.
Yeah, this is Sean Gallagher. I own a small motel and cabin complex, and looking at all the issues that we're talking about today, including whether I hire people now, because we typically gear up, but we don't have reservations, so it's kind of a catch-22. And also, as Nate said, I'm looking at perhaps self-employment and how one gets that as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Down to about 5 people, it looks like. We're gonna skip Shannon because she'll be coming up next, and on to Sue and Scott.
Hey everybody, Sue Nordman, Scott Mayer. We own the new business Bliss on Main Street. And just like everyone else, we're trying to navigate keeping our business afloat with a very unknown timing of all the events and all the details. So we're just investigating and trying to coordinate all the resources for potential employees, vendors, and things like the small business loans, and coordinate with other downtown folks to see how we can all keep this going.
Okay, thank you for joining us again. Next up, we have the Grand Theater.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone. This is wonderful to connect with people. I'm Nick Turner with the Grand, pretty much the iconic center of Ellsworth and Main Street, and existing tremendously on programming and events. So once those went dark, you can imagine what situation we're in. And right now I'm waiting with bated breath for the PPP loan to hit. So that's going to be the thing that's going to help us prepare for reopening. Nice to see everyone. Thank you.
All right, nice to have you back, Nick. Thank you. Next up is Tom Beal.
Hi, I'm Tom Beal of Map Revival and Archangel Computers. We are essential services. We are open downtown, doing a lot of remote support and work at home setups for people. Like to do whatever we can. If there's anything that you guys are needing, just give us a ring. One of the things we're running into is running low on sanitizer because we got to wipe everything down, of course. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, Amanda Tupper.
Oh, hey guys, I already went, but I don't mind talking again.
All right, sorry. And then last one I see.
Yes, this is Dale.
Oh, Dale, okay. And anyone else that got skipped, speak now. I think we're actually ahead of schedule, so. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Kara, I think it's back to you.
Yep. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it. It's great to hear from all of you. And as everyone else has said, it's really nice to see everyone's face. We are going to move directly into statements from our community partners. And the first person that's up is Chris Fitzpatrick. He's the Executive Vice President of Business Banking with Machias Savings Bank. And I'm not exactly sure what he is speaking on today, but I'm sure that it's a timely topic. So Chris, if you are ready, please feel free to go ahead.
Okay. Well, I really wanted to get the opportunity to listen to what everybody had to say. And first of all, I've got to commend you folks. I don't know that there's another organization that's got the support, broad-based support of their community that the Heart of Ellsworth has got. So very, very pleased to see that happening. A couple of the things that are hot off the press at the moment, the PPP that was alluded to a couple of minutes ago is the Paycheck Protection Program. We're supposed to be taking applications starting today. It's a great program for some people, like many of the programs that are out there. The rules were changing even last night, so we have had a few hundred applicants so far today across our footprint, even though people aren't 100% sure of what documentation is needed. I likened it yesterday when I went over it with our banking group of it truly is a shoot, then aim and fire type of scenario, because we're trying to react to something that's been committed to. What it basically does is helps with an 8-week period of time for payroll. So listening to a majority of the people on here, we all know it's going to be a very uncertain time. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be a longer period of time before things gear back up. I've hearing folks from the southern part of the country, and they're starting to push into June for some stay-at-home type conversations. And none of us want to hear that, but it's the reality that we probably need to be prepared for. So the payroll protection plan, again, payroll. The intent there is that you would retain employees so that they wouldn't have to go on unemployment, so that you would have them available for when the season starts up. But it's 8 weeks, and I'm not sure that 8 weeks is going to be as helpful as we would like to see at this stage. What we're doing is encouraging folks to apply for the PPP. There's also the EIDL, the Emergency Injury Disaster Program. That's a direct loan through SBA, right off their website, sba.gov. There is an opportunity on it to request a grant as you do part of the application process. That's up to $10,000. It won't let you put in what your loan request amount is, just what your expenses are over the next 12 months. I think that's going to be very important the longer that the delay in business occurs. But you put your information in, and then somebody from SBA reaches out to talk with you about it and determines both what's a reasonable loan amount and what an amount of a grant should be. So I know others on here are probably going to talk about that as well. So I'll stop there and then deal with questions as they come along.
Chris, thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. And maybe just one clarifying question for you and Amanda and anyone else on the Machias Savings Bank line here. Where should any sort of questions be filtered via email? And maybe if we can put that email address in the chat, that might be helpful.
Sure, we'll have Amanda put hers right in.
Okay.
Be the local contact for you. The other thing is, I should have mentioned out on our website, there are a number of links as well. And it is almost overwhelming, the amount of information that's coming. So we're trying to just filter down what we think will be most beneficial and helpful. So machiassavings.com.
Great, thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate hearing from you. Moving along to Shannon Byers from SBDC and CEI. She is our small business counselor in downtown Ellsworth. Her office space typically is located right across the street in the blue building from the post office. So go ahead, Shannon.
Very good. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a busy week meeting with lots of small businesses and helping them through all the questions around the different programs. And I do feel like today there's a little bit of relief because everybody's running to the banks for the PPP. So it's a little bit of a distraction and hopefully getting a little bit of a breather today. So the program, the EIDL program, I know everyone's aware of it. We did get a little bit more information on it that I think is useful. This up to $10,000 loan advance, or we're calling it a grant because you don't have to pay it back. We did hear that the way they're determining if you get the full $10,000, it's based on number of employees that you have. So it'll be $1,000 per employee. So that's new information I think will be helpful as you're sort of planning and putting pieces together for the next several months to try to just have the businesses survive. The other piece, at this point it's really hard, but trying to piece together all these programs so that you can maximize them over the longest period of time, I think is important. So the EIDL, definitely, apply for that. Now the PPP is coming up online, so I think, it's good to apply. If you apply, doesn't mean you have to commit to it. There's also the employee retention credit that the IRS is going to be offering, which I don't know a lot of details, but actually, Cara, maybe we could get somebody from the IRS for next week's call. Sean Savage, I know, would be happy to do it. So a little bit of information on that. So that's just one more kind of strategy. And then the unemployment for self-employed people is coming. It's not up and running yet, but that is another option that we'll, I'm sure, have more information on as it comes live. For now, I think we're all kind of just trying to absorb what these different programs are, get people applying for them. And then I imagine over the next month or so, we're going to be switching to like, how are we going to help businesses survive through this? And how are we going to make sure that, you guys are able to stay in business if you can? And how can we get creative and get everyone back up and running as quick as possible? So I'll put my information in the chat there if anybody wants to reach out. I am scheduling just a few days out, but I am trying to book people relatively quickly.
Thank you so much, Shannon. And thanks for putting your information in the chat. And again, the chat is being snapshot, so you folks are going to receive that along with the notes from Kirsten and of course the agenda again. One other thing, Brian Langley, thank you so much for pointing this out. I failed to mention that as you're listening to these presenters, please be thinking and possibly maybe even typing your questions into the chat. Eric, our moderator, is sort of kind of going through them as they come in, and he's trying to get to as many of them at the end of the call as possible. Brian, thank you for pointing that out. Now moving on to Louie Luchini.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Well, my name's Louie Luchini, a state senator for most of Hancock County. It's great to see everybody and to be on the call with all of you, and thanks for getting such a big group together. I think since the last time we spoke last week, there are a few big things that have happened, obviously. Governor Mills put in the stay-at-home order. And obviously the feds hadn't voted yet. So last Friday afternoon, I think the feds passed the CARES Act, it's called, and the president signed it. So that is now into law. Last time I went over all the state stuff, so I think we'll just focus on the feds. So pretty much the CARES Act, as it's called, is not a mandatory program, but states can opt into everything. We had a legislature-wide conference call with the commissioner yesterday of the Department of Labor. And so, the bill was passed on Friday, and by Saturday, the state had applied for everything that was possibly available for us to implement. So I think there's, as we talked about last time, there was a lot of really important pieces, but probably the one that we had heard the most about was the expansion of unemployment benefits and eligibility to those who are self-employed or sole proprietors. And I think, as both Shannon and Chris pointed out, we're still waiting on a lot of federal guidance on how these programs are going to be implemented. Just yesterday, the guidelines were supposed to be out earlier this week for this part in particular, but as of right now, the Department of Labor doesn't know what documents are going to be required to prove that you're self-employed. So the guidance that they're giving people now is to not apply for unemployment benefits yet if you're self-employed, because it will very likely result in a denial. And as that guidance comes back from the feds, then it would be appropriate, obviously, once we get it to apply. And broadening that, we worked with the federal delegation to do it because it's so important. There's over, I think, 100,000 self-employed people here in the state. And most states are in our position where we're still waiting for the clarity and guidelines. The statute kind of presents a skeleton policy, and then it gets filled with the rulemaking, and things change, obviously, with this by the minute. But we are being told that for the unemployment, for self-employed people or sole proprietors will be retroactive, which is nice, back to what we're being told is February 2nd, if your business was affected by COVID-19. So that's what we're being told now. Again, I don't want to guarantee anything, but we're being told that even if it takes a while to get the benefits going, to be retroactive back to February 2nd. One of the other additional benefits that people have asked a lot of questions about is the additional unemployment compensation of $600 per week. And again, we're still waiting on guidance from the feds on this. We're hoping that this would be extended to self-employed people as well. Again, we're waiting for the guidance on exactly who it is. And that's what we're hoping on. And the $600, again, this will be retroactive because it's going to take some time to roll out. It'll be retroactive back to the date of the vote, which was March 29th. And the extra $600 in unemployment compensation will extend through July 25th. And so, like I said, we're communicating with our federal delegates delegation who voted for this stuff to try to make sure we can get clarity as quickly as possible so we can implement it here at the state level. So other than that, I think just in order to respond to the, kind of unprecedented thing, we've, obviously given the governor strong emergency powers that come from a national state of emergency as well as state of emergency. and some freedom to spend from the rainy day fund, which is capitalized, I think the largest it's been in a really long time. So, you know, basically just here to listen to everybody's concerns. Feel free to send me a message anytime or email if you have any questions. We can help you navigate. If you know any businesses, actually, there's been some question on whether or not your business is essential. I'll put a link in the chat box. If it's not clear whether or not your business is essential, you can request it from the department and hopefully get a ruling on them from Maine DECD to let you know if you're considered essential or not. So I'll leave it at that, and yeah, I'll put some information over in the chat box to hopefully help with that.
Cara, I think you're muted if you're talking.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, everybody. Thank you, Louie, for that. And if you could just put your email address over there along with those links, Louie, that would be great. Thank you so much for coming on the call. Next up is Dale Hamilton, our chair of the Ellsworth City Council.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for letting me participate. As the executive director of a nonprofit organization, I certainly understand what everybody's experiencing as we're trying to preserve our workforce and deliver the services that we deliver. I guess the comment I would make in terms of from a city council perspective is really being open to listening to what the needs are, hearing that. So as the city moves forward is to try to figure out what role the city can play in helping residents return to jobs, businesses to get up and running. And really that comes from understanding what your needs are. Obviously the city doesn't have the same resources as the state and federal government, but I think we play an important role. But that starts with really understanding needs. And so that's one of the things that I've been trying to get the message out and encouraging is to understand what it is that businesses are facing, what questions you have. Jana can certainly speak a little bit about kind of the convening role that the city's trying to put together to provide information, to be a source, a conduit to get some of those answers, to providing information as rapidly as possible. So I'll let her speak on that. I guess the other thing that I would say is that as we look at some of those solutions, I don't know, I couldn't sit here and tell you what the city can or can't do at this time, but I would say that there's a strong willingness to figure it out as we go. And we're going to be very mindful as we move forward in terms of decisions that are being made to make sure that it is very supportive of the situation we're facing. I see it kind of we're in that, I'm sure there's many phases, but certainly at this point, we're in that prevention and mitigation phase of this pandemic. We have to be mindful of trying to do everything we can to move past the health issues so that we can get back to normal life as quickly as possible. So the sacrifices that everybody's making, it's obviously very challenging. The longer it goes on, however, it takes a more toll both on individuals, but also on our businesses. So trying to enact practices that can support the phase we're in, but very quickly, I think the city needs to be prepared to start helping in the whole restoration process and building back up as quickly as possible. So I just wanted to say that please reach out to all the counselors, reach out to me. Let me know what your needs are. And my commitment as a member of the council is to take that and move it forward and advocate where we can. So Jan, I don't know if you want to just add a little bit in terms of what the city is currently doing.
Sure. I just put into the chat box the link to the city's webpage that we have where we've outlined the community resources as well as some of the resources we've gathered for businesses, employers, and employees, some of the information on unemployment programs available, the information from SBA on their different programs. The FAME programs are up there. Please take a look at it. The one thing I want to just get across, there's, obviously there's a lot of resources even on this screen right now in terms of understanding a lot of the business and financial resources. The one other thing I want to talk about is the community resources. And I've noticed in the chat during the time that we've been having this call, Tom Beal saying that you've got some computers available. Betsy saying that she's going to be doing some online therapeutic massaging and things like wellness. If there's anything like that you want to offer the community at this time that you think the community and residents should know about, we framed it as a bulletin board. We're calling it Neighbors Helping Neighbors. So if you want to be part of that bulletin board, please send me an email. I put my email in the chat. It's jrichards@ellsworthmaine.gov. We love having business help the community, sort of symbiotic relationship that needs to happen to get us moving forward during these difficult times. So if there's anything that you want to offer, online classes, things of that nature, please let me know. We'll add you to that. And then also if, let's say, Tom, you run out of computers, just let me know and we'll take that off so that we just keep it up to date as possible. So yeah, please check out that website. If there's anything on there that you think is missing, I did get a thank you, Nicole, for sending me a very comprehensive email at 1 o'clock in the morning with some good feedback to change the community resources page a little bit. I am going to be incorporating her feedback in this afternoon. So whatever you have to offer, you guys are, you're out there and you have, like I said, the more people, they have more information, please pass it along and we will make sure that everything's included in one comprehensive place on the city site. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dale and Jana. Jana, thank you for pointing out the resources. Today, Heart of Ellsworth kind of went into that bulletin board and we reposted a direct link to it on our Facebook page. So hopefully we're trying to spread the word so that more people hopefully can access that information. And the last person that is on our list today, Nicole Grohoski, if you're ready to speak, we would love to hear from you.
Thanks. It's great to see everybody and hear everybody again this week. I will say that I think the presenters before me did an excellent job covering a lot of the new information about the federal programs. And as you know, the state actions are more limited at this point in terms of business until we get that guidance from the federal government about how self-employed and sole proprietors can apply. So I just will add a few things that I was thinking of based on what other folks said. One of those is that the payment protection or paycheck protection program, the PPP, that does include nonprofits, which I think is why Nick was mentioning it. But I just wanted to say that because I know that although a lot of you are business owners, you also have strong nonprofit connections in the community. And so if you can get that information across to folks that that's an opportunity to help those groups stay afloat for the next few months. That is good thing to do. I also want to say that I certainly am way less of an expert on some of these things than Shannon and Chris and Jana and others. But if there are questions about how the state will implement programs, myself and Louie, I know, are both available, and we have excellent staff who are fielding similar questions all across the state and have daily communications with the Department of Labor. So if you think of anything, you can contact us and we can run it up the flagpole and get answers back for you guys. And I'll put my email in the chat as well. One of the questions last week that Kirsten and Last had was about seasonal employees whose seasons haven't started yet. And how unemployment might work for them. And I've contacted them, but I just wanted to let everybody know that the guidance we got from the Department of Labor is that likely they'll be eligible if you rehire them, they'll be eligible at the point in time when their season would have started for the unemployment. So I know that folks are concerned about keeping the same great employees every year that they've had who haven't started yet, but you should be able to do that, and they should be able to avail themselves of the system at the time when the season starts. I also noted in the chat there was a question about 2018 versus 2019 taxes. So the information, if you haven't filed your 2019 taxes, my understanding is as long as you filed 2018 taxes, that's the information that the state will use to determine eligibility. And that goes for the unemployment benefits, but also for the $1,200 check for all citizens, residents who have made less than a certain amount of money. The cap is, I think, $99,000. So one of the pieces of information that I want, that I think you're probably all set with filing your taxes, but if you hear about people who are worried, they file their 2019 taxes in advance of the July 15th deadline, they will, that will trigger their eligibility, as I understand it, for that. That's direct citizen payment that's happening. So, and people on Social Security will automatically get that check as well. So if your 2018 versus your 2019 numbers are significantly different, there may be a reason that you'd want to expedite the 2019 filing if you can, in order to get greater benefits. But again, like, that's about as much as I know on that topic, but I did want to flag that answer for the person who asked about that. And finally, I just want to conclude with saying thank you so much to the city, especially Jana, for compiling those resources. It was an idea that's been floating around my mind, and I know that came up on the call last week. So I really appreciate you guys taking a leadership role on that front, and being willing to entertain emails at all hours with ideas and resources, because we all are connected in different ways. And if we can stay connected, I think we'll get through this. And I certainly will say I'm learning a lot about some of the opportunities in our community that have existed, and groups are connecting with each other, and it's really inspiring to see. So everybody stay in touch. It's a good thing.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you very much for being on the call. And I'm now going to turn it over to some of the questions that are in the chat. Eric is going to be moderating the questions, and he's going through and sort of compiling ones that maybe doubles up there in the chat feature. So Eric, when you're ready, maybe we can work together in tandem of trying to get the questions out there and assign them to the speaker that best fits.
Sure. To be honest, almost everything I've written down has been answered while as we're moving along. There was, the offer from Tom about computers. There was a question about self-employment, unemployment, about the taxes. So I think we could probably open it up to people that have new questions, but as far as I could see, I believe most of it has been answered.
Are there any questions out there? Maybe new questions? Feel free to type them in the chat bar. We still have about 15 minutes, so we've got some time.
Hey, Cara.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that I don't want to put information in that bulletin board until I get confirmation from people, just because if you don't want me to, assume to put you on the bulletin board. So if you could just email me, that's confirmation enough that you want to be included. And again, it's jrichards@ellsworthmaine.gov.
Okay, and you're saying that for any of the folks on this call that want information, they have to initiate you putting it on the bulletin board for the city.
Yeah, I just don't want to I mean, I think it's great to add Tom's offer on there, but I don't want to just do it without him kind of confirming that. So yeah, if you don't mind, I just don't want to take the liberty and assume that Okay.
Yep.
And then I think it was Betsy who had offered about doing the online wellness. And then I know Ann Sargent has been communicating in the chat. And I think we already have you listed on the bulletin board. I think the library reached out to you, but I'll just double check that and make sure. And if not, then we can add you as well. So thanks, guys.
Great.
And Janet, I do have a question for you. The community resources page is actually great because that came up the last time around. I haven't been on that site, so is there something similar for like businesses that are kind of open at this point for, you know, like my wife and I we've been going around trying to support different businesses that are open, but we don't necessarily know, is there like a central resource for that?
So what we did was we called it Ellsworth, I think it's called Ellsworth local business information or something along those lines. And then we linked out to the chamber. I think Star 97.7 was cataloging people who are open right now through, they've set up sort of a poll where you could click on we're open. And DEA, AM, Chris Popper was doing a similar thing. But if there's another place where we could link to, we're more than welcome to, happy to do that. We haven't been compiling that information, just knowing that there were other organizations that were doing it. But like I said, if there's another link that we could connect people to, we're happy to do that. I think the Ellsworth American just did an article, Kate, if I'm correct, so we could add that on there. It's probably more up to date than some of these other links are.
We have a it's I think entirely restaurants at this point. I'm not aware of another one, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I don't know about it yet. So,
Okay.
but I'll send that to you.
Okay. The other thing that we started doing too, I believe that Bangor had done this, was file a just like a one-pager talking about the different grocery stores and stores that were open and that had special hours for people who are at risk. So we did put that together. So we will also link that up. So this is kind of a work in progress. We're trying to get the information out as it becomes available, and we've got lots of people working on this. But that's just one other item that we're going to get up there too.
Great, thank you.
I've seen a few questions come through, and I think there was one from Paul, businesses to qualify for payroll support. What if all employees have already been laid off? Can we put them back on payroll to qualify, and how would that work? Make sure that if you're talking, I don't know who wants to take that question, but just make sure you unmute.
I'll jump in. I'm not the expert on this, but from all the information I've seen, you're not going to be penalized for furloughing or laying off people. It's going to be all about if you've hired them all back at the origination of the loan, and you pay them for 8 weeks and meet all the requirements, then it'll be forgiven. So I put a link to the latest description of it, the emergency loan guide. I'll do it again here from the chamber, the U.S. Chamber, and that seems to be the most readable for me. So there we go. I'll put it in the chat thing again. And then my last thought is, these things are so wonderful as we deal with this crisis. And what I'm hoping for is that when Mr. Optimism, when we have that opening date, when we're all back to business, we continue this. We continue all of us working together as we reopen and rebuild the economy. That's my hope for things.
Sorry, I was not able to get off mute there for a minute, but also on the Paycheck Protection Plan, there's two ways that they'll look at what you're eligible for. And if you're a seasonal business, they'll look at what your typical season is. or you can do it based on the 12-month history from last year. But once you have determined what you're eligible for, it's the 8-week expenditure after you close your loan. So if you have some employees that are already receiving unemployment and you want to bring them back, it may be in your best interest to apply for the PPP, not close the loan until May or June, and then rehire them for that 8-week period to take advantage, full advantage of that 8-week period.
Okay, thank you. I saw a couple from Sean and maybe for Shannon, and maybe not to be answered right now, but maybe you can reach out to him. But there was a question about, normally hiring J1 visa workers, which aren't coming this year. And then there was a question about hiring 1099 employees as well. So yeah, like I said, I don't know if that's for you, Shannon, but
I
on the way there.
Yeah. So that's right. They're essentially an expense is the way I would think about them. So those ones don't count in the PPP program. The other ones, it comes down to who will you have hired and have actually on payroll during that 8-week period. So if you're not able to get the employees you usually have, are you going to have alternative people that you will be hiring? And if they're going to be looking at the number of employees that you have on June 30th and the 8 weeks before that, or whatever period, whatever 8-week period you use the PPP loan in looking at that number. So if you're unable to hire any employees, you're not going to be able to take advantage of the PPP. Does that answer your question, Sean?
Yeah, it's kind of the chicken and the egg. If I don't have the money, you can't hire the people. The J1 come in June typically, so we have the expense. So we plan for that with the reservations. We're not going to have the reservations, obviously, so we're looking for governmental help here. And if we do open, I'm not going to have those students here to help. So I'm going to have to hire locally. But so you see my dilemma here is how do I get some funds that I can hire local, since I'm not going to be able to hire J1s. Typically, you don't hire until you have money to hire people because you can't pay them. So I'm trying to figure out where in these programs that fits.
I think if you can have locally, then you could use the PPP to pay for them. And Chris, maybe you can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I think that not knowing the timing of things, you might want to look at the EIDL loan because they will have. You could be eligible for funding to pay for them once you know what the timeline is, and you have, after approval for that, you have up to 6 months before you actually have to commit to taking it. So, it's a loan. There's a grant component, but it's primarily a loan, but it would be something that would be very helpful for that intended purpose.
Thank you, Chris. Cara, what do you think? I don't see any more questions on my end here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing too many more that either haven't been covered or haven't been answered. By now, my assumption is that most of you are familiar enough with our presenters, and they've all stuck their direct email contact information into the chat, which again, that will be sent out to you so that you folks are able to directly link with them via email. And I think that would be a real helpful way to have this conversation kind of offline and to have your direct questions be answered directly by our experts that were here on the call. So
can I ask one more question?
Please. Yeah, I'm not sure who you are. Please state your name. We get a lot of
Sean.
people. Sean, thank you.
Going back to the previous question, actually, it's kind of linked to that, is that we usually have to prepare the facility. It's a motel and cabins and get it ready, and I usually hire people to do that. And again, the J1 students help, but we can kind of hire locally. But it still goes back to what the gentleman was talking about with timing. If we don't know that we're actually going to be opening, does it make sense to get everything prepared to open if we end up not having a season or the season gets very long, delayed? I'm just wondering about the timing for even the PPT or whatever it is.
I didn't, the last part of that, the timing of the what?
Well, the question is that we have to have the place prepared in case the season turns on. And so you're kind of doing it at risk. If we were to spend, it's a fair amount of cost to get everything ready, the bedding, the linen, the cleaning, the steam cleaning, the floor, all the things that had to be done to get a facility ready to go, usually sold out, usually Memorial Day weekend. So if everything gets delayed and pushed back, then we're probably looking at, June or even July, 4th of July gets crazy. You have to have things ready in case the season starts, and then you're hiring at risk. And so I'm trying to understand how all that comes together and whether we should move forward like we're going to have a season. It just doesn't make sense. Are you going to make the expense? And the timing is a real issue. So there's some real risk here about how to move forward. I'm looking for maybe a little guidance or suggestions on what we should do.
Boy, that's the crystal ball call.
Yeah, I saved the hardest one for last,
I know you need a few weeks time in order to accomplish the funding aspect of it, but there's the personnel side of it. I think having the funding available for you to do it, I'm not sure. Again, on the grant component of that idle, maybe there's something there that SBA would consider on a direct basis where it's in preparation of opening, that it may be, maybe a component of that could be used for that purpose.
Yeah, Sean, this is Eric, and I'm speaking unofficially for my company, but I actually work for a local hotel group. And yeah, like I said, I mean, obviously the uncertainty, nobody knows when we're gonna be back open. But my personal opinion is that, most of our properties that have been pushed off into early May, but we have several that are even that Memorial Day weekend now. Even if things get better in early May, I think there's gonna be so many properties open and really little occupancy that, if I personally had a smaller place, yeah, I think the best case scenario at this point is Memorial Day weekend. And then, we're hoping, as far as what we've been tracking, like reservation wise, June's down about 30% over last year. So, we're still holding pretty good for June, but obviously that's going to change in the next couple of weeks because people have been kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. But I think there's a good chance to, recuperate some of June. April's obviously lost at this point. And then I think some people are hoping for May, but it's still going to be, I think, light at best if we get, the end, that last half, probably best case scenario. So not sure if that's helpful in answering the financial part, but that's kind of what we're looking at from, occupancy and stuff.
Yeah, that helps a little. I mean, it really comes down to how things kind of develop and the crystal ball aspect of this, because if the funds come in, if we're not going to have much of a season or that there's such diminished, hospitality needs, that puts downward pressure on the revenue you're going to get anyhow. And if you want to conserve dollars to just get through this year and maybe limp into next year, we've got to make some decisions about where to spend money. And that's one of those that, it's a judgment call, and yet I wasn't quite sure where, the resources come from, which of the programs, whether it's the grant or whether it's the PPT or PPP or whatever it might be, because you're really hiring, hoping that the season happens. And if it happens and you're not prepared and you're not ready, you kind of clock too. It's not the easiest call right now that I can see.
Well, Sean, thank you so much for your a good snapshot of your situation. I think that's helpful for a lot of the folks that are on the call here to hear some of our presenters. In the interest of trying to end on time and be respectful of everyone's time, I just want to say a few more things. Please, I remind everybody, if you know of anyone that should be on next week's call, we're going to have it again on Friday, which is, I believe it's the 10th of April, again at noontime. And we'll have another whole slew of presenters. But please, if you know of anyone that wants to be on this call, have them directly email me so that I can add them to the list. We're only getting out there to as many people as we have on our list. And I also really want to thank the City of Ellsworth for joining us this week. I hope next week that you will all be on the call again, and we'll be looking for another presenter from the city. I also want to thank Machias Savings Bank very much for making this program possible and for allowing us to pivot so quickly. I also want to thank both Louie and Nicole for being on here from the statewide level. And of course, a huge thank you to Shannon Byers for being on this call. Your knowledge and your in-depth understanding of everything that is happening on the federal level and on the state level is huge for us. And you are such a great resource, and we're so lucky to have you in downtown Ellsworth. Thank you, Jana, for putting together so much on the website and working with the technology crew there at the City of Ellsworth. So I thank you all. And if anyone has an issue with this information being made public, please directly email me so that we can talk through that. We're trying to do our very best to make this information be as widely circulated as possible so that we can help as many people as possible. So thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon and best of luck, and get outside this weekend. Thank you.
Stay safe.